It's the opening of a brand new winter sports season, a winter Olympic season. We are in Calgary, Alberta, Western Canada for the start of the Viessmann FIBT World Cup skeleton and bobsleigh season. We open up with run number 2 of men's skeleton. Hi everyone, I'm Tim Singer. I'll be joined in a moment by former world champion in the sport of skeleton, Michelle Kelly. But first, a look back a little earlier this afternoon, the highlights from run number 1. This is American Matt Antoine. 1 World Cup medal in his career. That was 4 years ago, also in Canada, in Whistler. Antoine, coming off of an injury a year and a half ago, started late in the order, but moved himself all the way up into the top 4. Even a bigger surprise from Great Britain, Dom Parsons, a relative newcomer to the World Cup circuit, but from a great tradition in the sport of skeleton from Great Britain, a nation that has produced 3 Olympic medals, top 3 in this opening World Cup race. In second place, these are 2 Olympic medalists now. Alexander Trechikov from Russia set a start record in the first 50 meters, hung on for a top 2 finish. This could be a great battle all season long by the 2 Eastern Europeans as they get set for the Olympics in Russia. But it is Superman, Martins Dukers, winner of 15 of the last 17 international races, the 4-time defending World Cup champion from Riga, Latvia, had the fastest time, and it wasn't even close. Better than a quarter of a second. Martins Dukers leads midway through this opening World Cup skeleton race. Hi everyone, I'm Tim Singer. So pleased to be bringing you live coverage around North America. The World Cup skeleton season is underway as we see tight standings, especially amongst the 3rd through 7th positions. So they will jockey for those podium spots. Just the fact that the Russian and the Latvian are running away doesn't mean there won't still be some drama involved. Canada Olympic Park, the site of skiing, ski jumping, and lots of sledding action over the next 2 days. Relatively warm day here. It is about 42 degrees Fahrenheit, and the ice temperature actually getting colder as the day moves along. We're set for run number 2, and right now I'd like to introduce my broadcast partner, 2003 World Skeleton Champion and 2-time Olympian, Michelle Kelly. Michelle, we look at the start list. They'll go in reverse order with the Latvian going in the final run. This is the opening race. How tense are things in the mind of the athletes, especially in an Olympic year?
Yeah, Olympic year, everything's always a lot more heightened. Athletes are very aware that every single race, every start time really matters. This is all about points, who gets to go, to represent their country at the Olympics. It's also a lot of pressure with team points. Couple of teams, couple countries get to actually take 3 athletes into the games. Everybody's fighting to get as many athletes entered as they possibly can.
Time to start the racing, and there was actually a tie for 20th place after run number 1. The top 20 qualify, but in this case it'll be 21. And this is Switzerland's Pascal Oswald, coming from a country with great skeleton tradition, but not a lot of top results in the last few years.
Well, Pascal is an Olympian from 2010. He's had some injuries, a hamstring injury earlier in the summer that's really affected how he's been able to train. You can see that in his start times. He's looking to come out and be consistent. He was excited at the top to get a second run. Now he just needs to relax and enjoy the run.
The sport of World Cup bobsleigh and skeleton is competed here in the World Cup in 2 heats, a total time competition. So the running time in the lower right side of your screen is added on from their first heat.
Ooh, a hit right there at the entrance of 8. That's going to cost us some time, but he recovered super well. Has a good straight going. A little bit of a bump there again at the entrance of Kreisel. Here his visor catching on the ice there as he went through the pressures.
Speed of 78.9 miles an hour as he approaches the final few curves leading to the finish curve. And this, one thing about Calgary track, this finish curve is fairly tough to negotiate.
It can be brutal. He's going to be really happy with that time. That's a much better time than his first heat. So he's going to be very excited about that. But that finish curve, and it not only looks brutal, but let me tell everybody out there, it hurts, especially when it's cold and your body's hitting that ice wall. It's going to leave a mark.
Did you ever race on the old Lake Placid track?
I actually did. I was one of a few women. I have the start record there that can never be broken.
Okay, that's right.
My one claim.
Yeah, that had a tough finish curve.
Oh, you just, yeah. That left some permanent marks for sure, but it was an honor to be on that track. See, right there, he catches the entrance, and you can see the bit of the ice chips fly up, and that will really hurt your time. But he recovered super well, which is the most important thing. Is, you know, we can all take those hits, but it's how you recover from them, you know, whether it means you're going to lose more time or not.
There are plenty of stories within the stories in this Olympic year, and one of them is German qualifying for the Olympic Games. Germany is hands down the most dominant country in winter sled sports. The lone exception, skeleton. They are among the best, but maybe not the best. And there are several athletes that may not qualify for the Olympic Games because of the reputation of the country, Michelle. There's such tough qualifying standards, and some of these guys have to get 2 top 3s, which is not that easily attainable.
No, and qualifying for, say, the German team, the Canadian team, you know, these are people that maybe won't qualify and yet could medal at a World Cup. It's that dominant, that deep of a field.
As Anja Huber, the great German women's athlete, told me, it's medals or nothing in her country.
They accept nothing less.
5:13, the getaway for the first 50 meters. And you're in the early going, Michelle. Let's talk a little bit about, especially for our new viewers, steering a skeleton sled.
You know, it's something that's very subtle. You'll see some people drop the toes on the ice, but typically people are trying to steer with the pressures of their body. You're using a shoulder, a knee. You're digging it into that sled because there are grooves on the runner, which is what's on the bottom of your sled. And when you dig it into the ice, that will move your sled on the ice. And the really great top athletes, you're going to have a hard time even telling they're steering. They're that smooth. But on this track, you're starting to see even here on this run, a bit of the legs, you're going to probably see a toe come down right there, which is a very hard steer on this track. You don't want to do it all the time. It will affect your time. You can see he's got some ice that's flying up there. He's taking some bumps in the corners.
But great speed going. The green represents the lead, and this is a big lead for the German Alexander Krokel, time of 56.6. By 35 hundredths of a second, he takes the early advantage.
He's going to want to see that green. You don't want to ever see the red.
The challenge would seem to be to not put your feet down, because the dragging is the instinct. I want to slow down, I'm in trouble. But if you keep it up and you have faith and confidence, it's going to help your speed.
That's true. And there are times when on some tracks, you know, I used to use toes quite a bit. You know, as long as you're using them at the right spots, you know, it's such an easy quick steer. It can actually be an advantage. But you got to know what you're doing and time it just right.
On the left of your screen is American Eric Bernatis, a former world champion medalist. He won a silver in 2007 in San Moritz. There's a good look at Eric from Pennsylvania. Retired from the American team, is now coaching the Australians. And here is his male charge, John Farrow, in 19th place, after the first run.
Eric, again, one of those amazing sliders that did a lot of great things in the sport.
First 50-meter time for the Australian, a 5:32, the slowest of the 3 by a wide margin.
Now that's a start that's not going to help him out at all. We have some of the women today that were quicker than that, and you've got to really, on a track like Calgary, you've got to start off quick. You can't give up any time to these top guys on the top.
We've seen the Kiwi and Australian women on tour over the years, and what a commitment that takes, Michelle. So far away to give up your summer, spend your summer doing a winter sport.
That's it. These poor athletes get winter basically, and they're so far from home. You know, we've had a lot of the athletes here in Calgary train because they don't have a track. They have to go and actually find places to train. And you know, for myself being here in Calgary, having the track in my backyard basically, such an advantage. And so kudos to those athletes who have really dedicated themselves to bettering themselves in the sport and really helping push the sport forward in their countries.
A time of 1:53.91 for the 2 heats for the Australian. American John Daly coming up in a moment.
Here we go again. We're seeing him at the start. You can see he's just not got the turnover that the top athletes have. It looks a little bit more laborious. You know, the strides aren't quite as long, but he gets on, gets settled quickly, which is good. But again, when you're that far back, you really got to have a little bit more in the tank on the start.
Sweet.
So we are about 30 seconds away from joining our live TV coverage, but we continue here live here, and our next competitor will be Sean Greenwood from Ireland. Really surprising first run for him to get into the top 20.
Go, go, go!
Sean Greenwood of Ireland with a start time of 5.16. His action continues here. Second run of the men's skeleton, Canada Olympic Park in Calgary. Greenwood was in 17th place after the first run.
He's doing a few, you can see a little bit of the form breaks. Again, he hit the entrance there going into the top part of the corner. You really want to keep smooth. So in this transition, he went nice into 8. He's coming out, staying fairly smooth on the track. It's a little bit bumpy there in the straight today. And here his visor just clacking along on the ice from the pressure, but a really beautiful exit there. You've seen a lot of the athletes hitting. He came out nice and clean. That's really going to help his time there to pick up some speed in the bottom, which is super crucial on this track to carry you through to the finish.
Speed of 122K, that's 76 miles an hour even. A bit of a bump there, but a great finish time, 300s up. So Sean Greenwood from a nation, Ireland, I'm pretty sure I've never seen a top 15 finish from before. Have you?
Well, no, not that I can recall. I guess Clifton did
Clifton, that's
the Olympics.
Right, yeah.
If you're going to have the race of your life, have it at the Olympics.
That was a while ago.
Did.
Yeah, Clifton was in the top 3 actually after the first run.
He was.
Ended up just out of the medals. Yeah, but no one since Lord Clifton.
No, great accomplishment. And Sean's going to be super happy with this. You know, he hasn't been at this level for very long, and he's coming in. He does know Calgary. Calgary's a track he's been on a lot, and he's just looking out here to have some fun, get some experience, and great job for him.
So the lead for Ireland, American John Daly is on deck, but next up from a one-time skeleton-rich nation of Austria, this is Matthias Guggenberger. Now the man on his left with the multicolored hair is Olympic silver medalist Martin Rettel, finished behind American Jim Shea in Salt Lake City in 2002. Rettel coached the Americans for a while, but now has returned to his native Austria.
You always expect colorful hair from Martin. Same as when he's coaching, I guess.
It's amazing that he even still has hair the way he's been coloring that all those years. His uncle, Mikael Guggenberger, was a former competitor, now a coach.
And he's probably going to be a little disappointed with that start. He was looking to get under the 5 again. That's crucial to really stay with his top guys right now, is get under 5 seconds on this start here in Calgary. So far, pretty smooth run. It's going into this nice transition here. Want to get out of 7 here and get nice and early into 8. A little bit of a bump there, it looks like.
Nice exit, though. Now the straightaway into Kreisel.
He recovered well there. He started to drift, but he recovered nicely to get into Kreisel.
Dead heat to the 100th of a second to the last one. Big bump there.
That bump again, that's what the athletes are trying to avoid.
Now 100th of a second back. This is as close as that Rettel Shea race in 2002.
Well, Sean came out with a clean exit of Kreisel. That might be the difference here. We'll see if they're coming out. Ooh, a big hit there.
Third fastest time in the heat and third overall. 800ths behind the pace. Things are very close right now, which is kind of going to be fun as we move along. It wasn't as close in the first run, maybe because Dukers went so early.
But, you know, anything can happen. That's what's exciting. You want it close. You want to be, you know, tight. It just goes to show you have these exits and you are taking hits, it's going to hurt you. It's just too close. And he took that hit out of Kreisel and, you know, high on the exit here out of 14, and it came straight down into that wall, and that never feels good. It won't hurt his time too much, that exit of 14, but Kreisel is going to really hurt anybody hitting there today. They need to have a nice clean exit to really gain that speed.
We're so pleased to be bringing you live coverage of the World Cup this year across the United States and Canada, and this is the first of 5 North Americans who have qualified for the second run here in Calgary. This is American John Daly, 28 years old, out of Smithtown, New York, a graduate of Plattsburgh State University in upstate New York, my alma mater. He's a decathlete in college, really quick at the start here. One of the faster starters in the sport.
I expected him to be a little higher up for the second heat, so I think look for him to have a good run and move up in the standings.
Had a couple of good results last year in the World Cup, including a 4th in Lake Placid and a 4th in Sochi, more significantly. But he was disqualified from the opening race last year, the World Cup schedule. He didn't have his bib on when he started the sled.
Such a heartbreaker for something like that to, you know, make it so that you get disqualified from a race.
Had the greatest, or the best start time so far, 4.97.
Again, under that 5 seconds, which you want. You can see him putting his toes down lightly here and there, making little corrections. That won't really affect his time too much. right there again, 8. You can see he's hitting on that wall. He just couldn't quite get enough height to get out of there, and that's going to affect his straight, which will affect his speed coming into the Chrysler here. As he comes out of the Chrysler, see again that tap on the left, which you're going to see a lot today. It's the athletes that come out clean that you're going to see really make a jump in their times.
The green stays green. He'll have the lead. It's just a question of how much. We're listening to some scraping there down at the bottom. And he lost quite a bit down in the last few curves, but does manage to hang on by 0.06 of a second ahead of Greenwood with a time of 1:53.72 for the 2 heats.
Again, Sean came out clean, and I think that's where he really made his time in the bottom. We could see John did take that hit again, but he was able to keep it together and keep his speed through the bottom, and that's what's put him in the lead.
This is the exit of 8 and the straightaway in the Chrysler. Just
didn't have the height in the corner, and when you don't have that height, you know, he can't quite get off that corner. You're riding the corner on the exit, and that pushes you right over to that left wall.
Good speed there, but the story really was the steering he had to do to get into Chrysler, and that slowed him down the rest of the way.
It's really crucial for these athletes at 8. It's a big time loss. You got to get the height in there to get it off the corner so you can have that straight, nice and easy down the right side of the wall to get into Chrysler.
Dr. Ice, 41-year-old Kristen Bromley, looking in this his final season in the sport as his partner Shelley Rudman watches. Bromley looking to complete the Grand Slam. In his illustrious career, he has won a World Championship, a World Cup title, the European Championship. The only elusive title is the Olympic title. He says he'll retire. He has contributed so much to this sport, Michelle, not just as an athlete, but as a coach, a sled builder, and a mentor to so many.
Oh, he totally has. I mean, just the equipment alone, he's pushed the sport forward so much, and we don't call him Dr. Ice for nothing. He's a very intelligent man, very smart on everything he does, and he's just a real perfectionist in the sport, and he's done so much over the years, and I'd love to see him get that medal. It's, you know, one of the guys that's been around forever. You'd love to see him finish his career on that high.
If it's any consolation, Kristen told me the other day he really loves that Sochi track. He loves the fact that they've had training possibilities there. The fact that even when it's warm weather in Sochi, the track stays in good condition. All very important attributes to a good race.
And you can see there he had the height coming off. He was able to get off of corner 8 to get that straight, which John before him was not able to do. Now there he got way too high, and it put him up. He can get off the corner of Chrysler. He got up 8, not Chrysler, and that's going to affect his time there, that hit again.
Great speed of 71.7. We'll see if he opens it up more. He has 75.6. So around the finish curve, with the lead by 0.02 of a second, is Great Britain's Kristen Bromley. So a little break again for our live TV audience, but we stay in live with you with our call for our internet audience as we take another look. Some excitement here for Dr. Ice.
Oh, that was super high at the exit of Chrysler. You know, there is no way to recover from that. You're that high at the exit, not getting off. You're going to hit that left wall, and you're going to hit it hard, as we just saw there on the film. And he came through here on 14, still quite high. Again, flopping off and taking that hit on the left side. His left side's going to be a little sore, I think, after those 2 hits. But he's in the lead, and that's all that you can ask for after your run.
Hello,
he's going to be happy.
You know we don't use film anymore, right? Rarely do we use videotape anymore.
Yeah. I'm one of the older ones.
Back here at Canada Olympic Park in Calgary, Great Britain's Kristen Bromley leading the way in the opening World Cup men's skeleton race. This is Hiratsu Takahashi from Japan. Really has improved here at the all-important start, and his start time is 4:98, second best so far.
Again, under 5, that's what we want to see. Speaking with his coach at the top, Koshi, he was, you know, happy for his athlete, looking for a good result. Said his athletes were a little bit nervous today. They just needed to calm down on this second heat, and they're looking to improve.
Japan, with a bit of a tradition, especially in men's skeleton, the great Kazuhiro Koshi won World Cup medals as far back as 1989 and as recently as 2004. That's quite a career.
Again, we're seeing that hard time getting off of the corner 8, put him late into Chrysler. We're taking that hit. All little things are going to add up as he's going down the track.
Still 3,500's his advantage over Great Britain's Kristen Bromley. This next split time will show which way he's moving, ahead or behind. And he extends that lead, 4,100ths. Bromley knows a good run when he sees it.
And Koshi's going to be so happy with that. These are some newer sliders. They're looking to really start. It's always been Koshi for so long, and they're really looking to develop the sport a bit more in their country, and this is a good way to start going about it.
We have lots of regional programs at the Nagano track, but since that World Championship that you won, there's only been one other World Cup race. So these Japanese actually spend most of their time training here in Calgary.
Yeah, they're almost, again, like those Australian, New Zealand athletes who, even though they have a track, they do a lot of traveling away from home. There's Koshi right there. He's going to be so pleased. And, it's not easy, and they haven't had a lot of chances to do training on their own track in Japan, which is, it's unfortunate there's not more races there. It is such an amazing track. I have a special like for it myself.
Yes, you do.
But, just great to see that they're improving and continuing to get higher in the standings.
Continuing our coverage here, World Cup skeleton from Calgary, Canada. A little later on tonight, we'll have live coverage of the women's skeleton and the two-man bobsleigh. That's bobsled if you're watching in the United States. And those of you sticking around for the weekend, we've got the women's bobsled and the four-man. For the Americans and Canadians are certainly among the favorites. This is Meyer of Austria. He was in 13th place rather after the first run.
Good exit out of one there. He's just got to look nice. He's got to stay nice and low on the sled, which he's doing right now. Staying nice and quiet.
Raphael's father, Manfred, is a longtime coach in Austrian bobsled. Austria had such a great tradition in men's skeleton. Back when there was first a World Cup back in the early 90s, it was Christian Auer, Martin Thaler. They were the best in the world.
They were so dominant back then. They had such a deep field. It's a shame that that's sort of gone a little bit by the wayside, but Austria's trying to rebuild, and they'll come back.
Certainly a country with great winter sports tradition. Skiing, bobsledding, snowboarding.
Now, his run's fairly consistent, but he's just making little mistakes all the way down the track, and it's catching up to him. He was quite high there at the exit, and you can see in his time, little mistakes just, they build up on a track, especially a track like Calgary, where it's not long enough, it's not a San Moritz. You really need to kind of keep control of all the little things as you're going down the track.
And maybe, Michelle, more significantly, he's one of the very few so far here in the second run that actually didn't take over the lead, fell behind a bit. Do you chalk that up for error on the course, or maybe is this track slowing down?
No, I think it's just error. You could see he was making little mistakes there. He starts to skid, and that's going to kill a lot of your speed on that long straightaway going into the big Kreisel corner. There's a lot of pressure in Kreisel. He also took a hit at the exit of Kreisel. All little things, not a huge mistake anywhere other than maybe that straight, but just enough that it really does add up on a track like Calgary.
The clear second fiddle in skeleton in men's competition in Russia is Sergei Chudinov in the shadow of his Olympic medal-winning teammate Alexander Trechikov. But Chudinov, a good competitor in his own right, who has captured World Cup medals.
And he's looking to get a little bit out of that shadow. He's a good slider, and he's really going to want to pull up from his first run that he had. Looking for a very good start. He's not as fast as his teammate by any means, but 4:94, that's a great start.
Fastest start time so far. He had two fourth-place finishes just outside of the podium last year in Milan, France, and Altenburg, Germany. But interestingly, he did not race in that Sochi test event.
Yeah, that's surprising. Maybe that was a bit of a tactical move by the Russian Federation.
Holding him out.
Maybe,
That's all the training runs he wants.
Exactly. Don't give away the secrets.
Well, despite the fast start,
there was a big hit there.
Big problems.
Again, corner 8. A lot of the athletes having a problem. That one was at the entrance, and that's going to just really affect your speed. When you don't get that 8 into the nice long straight, you're going to come out. Not a huge hit out of Kreisel, but I think we're going to find his speed has slowed down a bit here to the bottom. And he is in the red. Again, little taps are at entrance of 14. You're going uphill. You don't want to top that entrance. And yes, we can see an 8th place run.
Much more to come. The top 10 still to come from Calgary. So 10 sleds have gone, Michelle, and we've got certainly the top still to come. Dukers, Trechikov, some of the Americans and Canadians. And as we look at the standings, how things unfolded, it's kind of nice to see Takahashi there, right?
It is. It's so great, and it's always nice for the sport to get that diversity in there.
So we got a little bit of a break here as our television audiences around the world hit their commercial breaks. Some pictures of Canada Olympic Park in Calgary. Have you ever seen ski jumping here?
I actually haven't. I've been at the ski jump a few times and looked down and thought, these athletes are crazy. I don't know how people think we're crazy.
Well, here especially because it's always so windy.
Yeah.
And we watched the, I was here for the 88 games, and we waited all afternoon while they had holds. And it was...
You know, and one of the athletes, I just found this out yesterday, Krokel from Germany, I heard used to be a ski jumper, and I thought that was quite interesting. I'll have to ask him about that sometime.
So when you made that move from gymnastics to another sport, you were gymnast, right?
Gymnast, and then into bobsleigh first.
Okay.
So
right.
I learned quick what the real fun sport was. Nothing against all the bobsleigh athletes out there, but
Canadians of whom have enjoyed quite a lot of success.
You know, we've been fortunate. We've had a very great, strong team throughout all the years, and strong testament to the work ethic that a lot of the Canadian athletes have put in, and all these athletes out here today. I mean, everybody's putting their heart and soul into what they do, especially on an Olympic year. This is, you know, really people put their lives on hold to do something they love, and I think all the athletes are very appreciative that they are allowed to do something they love. Speaking of bobsleigh and bobsled, we always know if you're American or Canadian if you say bobsled.
Or I think it's American or the rest of the world. The Americans say have to do things differently, right? Yeah, I don't know anywhere else where it's bobsled. Occasionally in England they'll say one or the other.
Right.
But it's mostly bobsleigh. The websites for every other nation, bobsleigh.
And that's going to be exciting this weekend. I think be great to see what everybody's bringing out. It's, you know, that Olympic year, you just never know what you're going to see. And even here in the second heat, we're seeing, you know, some athletes that I didn't expect to see, and athletes moving back that I didn't expect either. So such great excitement. You just never know, and that's what's so great about skeleton.
Alexander Gassner of Germany set to go now, our final 11 sleds. The top 10 still ahead. This is 11th place competitor after the first run, Alexander Gassner of Germany. A 5:02 start, the fourth best start time so far.
You know, just over that 5, but I think, again, you're going to need to be under 5 today. The athletes that are coming behind him are just so quick on the start. On a track like Calgary that isn't super, super crazy technical, you need that fast start to just carry you through all the way to the bottom.
Still ahead, we have American Matt Antoine. We have 3 Canadians in the field. We have Martins Dukers, the Latvian, leading the way after the first run. But here is the second of 3 Germans, Gassner, with a big hit, but taking the lead right outside of the Kreisel as the clock moves from red to green.
The best thing could have done there was, if you're going to take the hit, just take it. Don't try to move, because that's going to keep your sled into a skid and lose a ton of time. A bit high there, but he controlled it excellent.
Well done. Best time of the heat, best overall time. That's Jens Mueller, the coach for the German program. 25 years ago, he captured gold on this Calgary track as a German loser. So Germany out in front now, 153.13.
And he's going to be happy with that. Of course, there's always things that you want to change, but the most important thing is to see that number 1 when you're coming into that long braking stretch, because when you don't see it, it seems even longer of a braking stretch. I say that loosely, we don't have brakes.
That's true. Well, your feet.
Yeah. Gone through quite a few shoes in my years of sliding because of that.
Bobsleds have brakes. By rule, a bobsled cannot apply the brakes until they've crossed the finish line. Skeleton, whenever you feel like you're in trouble, you can apply the so-called brakes by knocking your foot down on the ace. This is John Fairbairn, 29-year-old from London, Ontario, now lives in Calgary. 10th place after the first run here in Calgary.
He's a newlywed from this summer. Spoke to him after the first heat. He wasn't super pleased with his first heat, so he's really looking to clean up a few errors on the track. It's his home track. He knows he can do better, so he's looking to get out there, have a great run. Again, a little bit over that 5-second mark. You really want to get under that today.
Fairbairn made his World Cup debut 3 years ago, had one of his best results ever at the test event last year in Sochi, where he had a top 10.
That was such a smooth transition there at the top. John knows this track. He knows what he's doing. He's just being very comfortable looking on the sled, staying nice and low, very little movement compared to some of the athletes we've seen before him. Excellent exit out of 8. He had the height, he got off, let the sled run, pick up some speed. He needs to keep picking up speed all the way down to make up for that start time.
A little bit of a correction out of Kreisel. He was 1600ths back at the last split. This one will tell the tale. 1300ths. Does he have enough track left?
It's close. He's got to carry that speed through all the way through 14. It's slightly uphill. He's got to really carry that speed.
The Canadian crosses 400ths back in second place. So John Fairburn made it close, found that speed. In fact, the last few sleds, Michelle, have found some speed down at the bottom.
And that's really crucial in Calgary is, you know, that bottom part, it can really make or break you. You got to find a way to get that speed, keep that form, and keep the momentum going all the way through the bottom of the track.
Only the 5th best speed. It's funny, we talk about this in bobsled. That speed time means everything. In skeleton, it's an indication at best.
Yeah, because there's so many other little things that you can do. You know, speed obviously certainly helps, and if you're too far back on the speed, you're going to see it on the timesheet. But there's so many other little spots to lose the time, and sometimes, you know what, you might even have a good run, and you just think, I don't even know where that speed went.
We're getting set now for the second German, Frank Rommel. And the track is clear. In fact, you see the clock in the distance counting down as one German leads the way, another takes to the course. Welcome back to Calgary. Tim Singer along with world champion Michelle Kelly, the opening World Cup skeleton race of the season. This is Frank Rommel, certainly one of the most popular, likable men on the circuit.
Oh, he's such a likable person, and I spoke to him after his first heat. He was another of those athletes that just not happy with his first heat performance, really looking to clean it up on the second one and move up in the standings. He's a perfectionist, and you know, he always wants to improve himself, and I think we're going to see a much better run here on the heat 2.
Last year, after Martins Dukers had won his 11th consecutive international race, Rommel finally put an end to that streak with a victory on the World Cup. Dukers, of course, came back and won the rest of the World Cup races, but still a huge moral and track victory on that day for the German.
And anybody to be able to say they took out Martins Dukers, that's a pretty rare list right now. So it's a great accomplishment. He's starting to get a little sloppy here in the bottom, and it's going to affect his time. He's got to keep staying nice and strong. He's losing a bit of that form. You can see his legs are out. It's not going to help with aerodynamics.
Speed not good at all, 75 miles an hour. He lost all sorts of time and places down there at the bottom. And in this story, Michelle, the story within a story, the Germans jockeying for what may only end up being one Olympic spot. Rommel falls behind his teammate Gosner.
And he's going to be disappointed with that. He's always done traditionally quite well here on the Calgary track. You can see he's not getting up right away off his sled. He's taking a few seconds just to probably have a little self-talk with himself that's not too positive. And, you know, as an athlete, you can tell if the run's gotten away from you. And this is not a typical exit that you're going to see from somebody of his experience. You know, he's just going to be super disappointed. And I think we'll see that on his face here.
There will be medals won by Germans this weekend in some of the races. That's as sure a thing as John Morgan being in the TV truck.
There's no question they're going to win some medals. I mean, you always know when Germany's around, they've come to bring out their A game, and they're taking some hardware home.
Great story in the first run here. Lucas Kummer of Switzerland really hasn't put much in the way of top 10 results at all in his still young career. Finds himself in 8th place after the first run.
He's got some speed on him. Again, there we go. We got under that 5. That's going to really help him out. He had some extra training here. He did an America's Cup race about 2 weeks ago. So he's a little bit more comfortable with this track than he maybe was before he came. And I think he's going to have a good run here.
Switzerland is where the sport of skeleton was born, originally as the sport of Cresta, and they still hold the Cresta Club in St. Moritz, Switzerland, where the rich and famous travel to this resort to take part on their own and watch the likes of Kummer.
See a lot of lovely fur coats there.
Well, we are now getting an indication of just how great the bottom half of this course was for Gassner.
Oh, that was a high exit. Again, didn't get off Kreisel there properly. It was high at the exit, flopped off, took that hit, and it's going to affect his speed. There's no question in the bottom part of the track.
And here at the bottom, crossing the finish line, the Swiss slider falls back 4 positions into 5th place with just the 8th best run here in run number 2. Germany still leading the way.
Wow, that was super high at the exit there. You could see him holding his leg there in the braking stretch, so I'm not sure if he did something. Yeah, he's definitely injured something. He's not sure if it was from the hit, because it looks like it's his left leg. He's going to be disappointed with that.
Back here now in Calgary, and we're down to our final 7 sleds in the competition. Dave Richardson, did I get that right?
Probably about as close as anybody's going to get. We call him Dave G for a reason.
First time Canadian competitor with 3 Z's in his last name.
You know, and this is his debut, and it's his home track. He's lucky to have a great run. He's really come on strong the last couple of seasons here in the sport.
Already on course from Canada, Dave G. He's got the early lead over the German Gassner, but we have seen a lot of the athletes, the last 4 or 5 or so, lose that lead on the bottom part of the track. He's looking good, though, Michelle Kelly.
He is. A little bit of a tap there on the left. Let's see if he can hold his speed and have a good exit out of Chrysler. It's going to be super important right now to come out fairly clean. Oh, that was impressive. That was a great, great exit. You come out right on that right wall, and you're really going to pick up some speed.
This is going to be tight. He went from 600s to 200s. Will this clock turn from green to red?
Excellent speed. Excellent speed. He's got to carry it through. Did he do it?
Yes.
Oh, and he did.
So it was a good run for Alex Gassner of Germany, but the Canadian takes over the lead. Up there at the top with that reaction was Coach Duff Gibson. In 2006, Gibson won the gold medal at the Olympics for Canada, the oldest ever Olympic individual gold medalist at the age of 39.
And that's such a great run for Dave. I mean, this is his debut. To be able to hold it together right through, good for him. He's going to be so happy and pleased. Again, you know, they have to make those qualifiers for the Olympics, and that's going to put him well on his way to having a great season.
So the man with 3 Z's and 2 Y's in his last name, that's the end of the alphabet. Yeah. He's at the top, the beginning of the leaderboard right now.
Oh, and we see that lovely mustache for Movember that you're going to see a few of the athletes sporting. I had a joke with a few of the athletes at the top and even a couple of the coaches who said, make sure you say it's for Movember. We're not purposely trying to look like this.
Thomas Dukers, the older brother of the heralded Martin Dukers, is quite a great skeleton athlete in his own right. He has won several World Cup races, a dozen or so World Cup medals. It's never easy to slide in the shadow of your younger brother, but he does it with a lot of class and a fair amount of success.
And he's just such a graceful guy on the sled as well, just like his brother. And again, one of those super nice people. You know, a family man, just a great all-around guy. I'm really looking forward to him doing well here.
Great start time for Thomas Dukers, a 4:87. 300s better than his first heat and the 3rd best of the day.
And he never used to be known for his starts. He's really worked very hard on that, and that's really helped him improve in the standings. So far, a great run. Nice and graceful lines, keeping his form nice and tight. Smooth transitions. Oh, that was nice coming out of 8. Just a few little corrections with the toes. Let's look for that clean exit, see if he can get that.
Dukers is
and he does. Excellent exit. That's going to get him again. Just like Dave before him, it's going to get him speed. That should propel him through to the bottom of the track.
He was in a tie for 5th place after the first run and only 1600ths out of the medal, so he could put himself on the podium with a 1st place time here with the top 5 still to come.
And that was a great run.
Thomas Dukers up the outrun, and that is certainly from top to bottom is as fine a run as we've seen, at least in this heat.
That was so nice, and that exit across, all important with these top guys to not lose the speed right there. Comes out so clean. This exit of 8 here comes out nice, trying to let the sled just run. That's where you're going to gain your speed to get into the Kreisel and really carry you through to the bottom. And you can see with the more experienced sliders, they're just making little corrections with their feet, and that's okay. That's not going to affect your time. It's when you start putting the legs outside of the sled and really getting sloppy, but he holds it together, just lets the bumps happen and just takes it.
5 remaining now as we get set for our next competitor. Coming up in just a moment, the Canadian Eric Nielsen. Back here in Calgary with the Latvian out in front, here's the final Canadian, Eric Nielsen. And you had a great chat with Nielsen after his first run, Michelle Kelly.
Oh, it's an interesting story. He is on new runners for heat number 2. He had a runner that the spine was completely destroyed after the first heat. He's not sure what he hit or where he hit it. He had to get the okay from the jury to actually remove his runners and put in a brand new pair. Thankfully, he came prepared with another set of runners that were ready and race prepared. But as he said to me, I don't know how I'm going to react on this run. I haven't been on them. I didn't test them. I don't know how they are going to be down the track.
32-year-old originally from British Columbia. Finished 4th at the Olympic test event last year at Sochi. Certainly a significant result for him from a country that in 2006 finished 1st, 2nd, and 4th at the Olympic Games. That's domination.
You know, it was a great race, no question about it, and Eric is really trying to put himself, you know, amongst those athletes that have come before him. This is a good start. He's holding everything together. He is, unfortunately, not in the lead right now. He just needs to stay clean and try to stay as close to the top as he can.
Around the finish, he did lose time there at the bottom, so Tomas Dukers, as we thought might happen, has moved up at least one spot. 152.97, the 2-heat combined time for Canadian Eric Nielsen.
And Tomas had that just amazing run. You know, he was so clean, so smooth. It is going to be you know, probably one of the top runs for sure of the second heat. But Eric's got to be happy. It's never easy when you have to have brand new equipment and something you're not fully comfortable with. You know, it is Calgary's track, so at least that part he was familiar with. He would know how to react. But it's hard to put in a change like that at the middle of a World Cup race and be confident and comfortable with the decision.
Still can be no worse than a top 6 on the day for the Canadian Nielsen, but here is the final American, the top placing American in run number 1. Matt Antoine, the Wisconsin native, now 28 years old, captured his first World Cup medal in 2009 in his first year on the World Cup. That was a bronze medal, but he is coming back from a bad injury. That was a year and a half ago. He had knee surgery. Told me he, for the most part, treated last season, all of last season, as a rehab comeback type deal. And now here he sits in the opening race this year in 4th place.
And good for him. It's always tough to come back from an injury, not just physically, but mentally as well, to get back in the game. And the fact that he's been able to come back and start so strong, that's such a testament to how hard he works, but also his mental mindset and strength.
Just 1200ths out of the medals after the first run. Really in trouble up here.
Yeah, hitting out of 1 to 2 is a really big time costly error here on this Calgary track. Before you've even got your speed, you've already taken it away. That's going to for sure cost him in the time.
And especially with that kind of run Tomas Dukers just put down, there is no chance for Antoine to hold his spot. It now becomes a question of how many positions will he fall back.
That's it, and that's disappointing as an athlete to have right from the beginning something happen there. You saw a little bit of a jump again. Not that clean straight that we saw from Thomas. So again, you're going to see it reflect in the speed here as soon as he comes out of Kreisel, taking that hit, dropping the toes on the ice.
At this point, he will be lucky to be in the top 8, maybe the top 7. So just not a monumental way to start the beginning.
No, he's leading speed all the way through, and as you can see, it definitely, it could have been a lot worse. So, you know, the bright side is you didn't drop too far down, but he's going to be disappointed. Anytime you drop down, even if it's one spot as an athlete, you're so upset with yourself, and you can see the little head put down there. He knows it, and he's not going to be happy with that at all.
7th fastest run of the heat, 4th place overall right now for Antoine with 3 remaining.
And again, for a lot of these athletes, that all-important top 6 is so crucial. I know for the Canadian athletes like Eric, you need to have that top 6 to get in a qualifier for the Canadian Federation. So all these athletes are really having some different, you know, qualifiers that they actually have to meet, and that puts extra pressure. There you see him coming out of 8, actually coming up off his sled. That's never a good sign when you're sliding, and you know it as an athlete. They've been around all these athletes to know when it's not a run that's one for the record books.
On a day where Latvian Martins Dukers will likely win this race, followed by Russian Alexander Trechikov, the story could be this 26-year-old Great Britain skeleton athlete, Dom Parsons. 3rd place after the first run. Parsons had a quick 491 start, and he almost equals that, just 100th back. Anything in the top 5 would be an incredible performance for this guy.
And how great. I mean, such a consistent start. That's what you need. It's under that 5 second. He just needs to relax now and stay nice and clean with his form all the way down the track and really try to keep the speed up, because that run before him, Tomas, it was a great run. See there, a little bit of a form break, but he's holding it together.
700s, though, the slightest of margins. Very clean out of 8.
He's a little bit late going into Kreisel. That's going to affect here his visor on there. He would have caused a lot of pressure from being late at the entrance as he went into the corner. Excellent exit, though, right on that right wall. That's going to help his speed on the bottom for sure.
200s. This will be very tight. Who will be on the podium? Thomas Dukers or Dom Parsons around the finish? It is Dom Parsons by 700ths of a second.
And that's what we love about this sport. I mean, you love when it's close, and, you know, that's what makes it exciting. You just don't quite know what's going to happen, and he carried that speed all the way through 14, which is a little bit of an uphill section. Good for him. What a great result. He's going to be so super pumped about that. That's
they are
awesome.
Celebrating from Yorkshire to Bristol and all over the UK, especially in the city of Bath, where so many of these skeleton athletes, including Dom Parsons, hail from. Look at that smile.
Oh, that's so great to see. You know, it's nice, and it's nice to see some new faces coming in and getting up, you know, into the top spots. It's always a great move for the sport.
Sportsmanship there with Dukers and Parsons.
And it's like a big family. Everybody's, you know, everybody wants to win, don't get me wrong, but everybody's such good sports out there.
Now we transition from what I call the drama of this race to the showcase of excellence, because these final 2 competitors, these Eastern Europeans, are clearly the best in the world.
They're in a league of their own.
Both won Olympic medals. This is the bronze medalist, Alexander Trechikov of Russia. Start record in the first run, that was a 475. Better by 400s, 471.
His turnover is amazing, and he never ceases to surprise. And, you know, just because he has a start record, he doesn't waste, you know, he doesn't sit back. He just pushes the envelope, and he wants to get it on the second. What a great competitor. And, unbelievable start time. That's so great.
There was a period, a long period of several years, in fact, when Trechikov set all these start records and then gave it up quickly. Now he's matured as a slider on the sled all the way down. A little steering there, but he has more than enough in the bank.
Well, that's the thing, is athletes used to say, oh my goodness, when he learns to drive, we're in some trouble. I mean, a clean exit out of 8, a little bit of a form break, but we've seen so many athletes hit. This is showing how he's progressed in the sport. He's got the start, he can drive, and he's definitely a threat on any track he goes to.
Around the finish curve, how big will the lead be? 0.6 of a second.
Wow.
With the fastest run of the heat, 55.83. Alexander Trechikov assures himself at least the silver. 1 sled remains.
You know, and what a great run, and that's what you have to do with Martins behind you. You got to put that pressure on, which you did right from the start record. Have a good run and just say, you know what? I'm here. You better be watching. You better listen, and you need to have a good run if you want to beat me.
Trechikov in the lead. Dukers to follow. They were 2 of the 3 Olympic medalists in 2010. The 3rd Olympic medalist, by the way, the Canadian John Montgomery, did not even make the World Cup team. Still hoping to qualify a little later on, as Trechikov has that impressive 471 start.
Big smile there, and what a great run. He earned that that start time and that bottom time with such a great run. Great job.
Now is a demonstration of greatness, and perhaps, and this is not exaggeration, Michelle, the most dominating athlete in international sports over the past 5 years. Any sport, this man right here.
I think no question. I mean, you know, it's always a surprise when he doesn't win. That just shows how dominant he really is, and he very rarely doesn't win.
Martins Dukers of Latvia, shooting for yet another World Cup gold medal. He's the 4-time defending World Cup champion, has lost only 3 international races in the last 2 years.
And again, you can see he bettered his start from the first heat, really going after it. Him and Trechikov, they push each other. Such a smooth line right there. Unlike a lot of the athletes, you hardly see him move on his sled. Everything is so graceful. It's really his race to lose right now.
He has opened up the lead to 3900ths. It's so easy to say he makes a joke of it, but it isn't a joke, because just watching him is just watching beauty on a sled.
And even speaking with him at the top after the first heat, he wasn't happy with his run. He made mistakes. He wants to have a clean run and do the best he can every time he goes to the start as well. So he knows that, you know, every little bit counts, and he takes it very serious.
He won more than a couple of races last year by over a second. It will not be that much, but it
track record! Wow.
So that's doing it with an exclamation.
Wow, and that's a track record that has been held by a Canadian, Jeff Payne, since 2005. That's impressive. That was an amazing run when Jeff Payne set it back in 2005.
World Championships, really cold conditions.
Yeah, not an easy mark. You can see how happy he is, and that's the thing with Martins. He's such a graceful, modest guy that you would never know he's as amazingly dominant as he is, and such a great thing to see. And I mean, that's putting an exclamation mark down, saying, you know what, it's Olympic season. I'm here to compete. I'm the guy to beat.
You would think there is a lot of pressure on Martins Dukers as we take another look at a champion run. He gave away the gold medal at the last Olympics. It was his to lose, and he lost it. And I asked him, are you feeling the pressure in this Olympic year? He said, no, I'm not feeling pressure at all. More attention on me, more sponsorship. That means it needs more support. So that's a great attitude to have and a great way to start the season for the Latvian, Martins Dukers. Check at the final standings. Once again, it's a wide margin. Latvia ahead of Russia, and a wonderful story for Great Britain's Dom Parsons. The top Canadians, Nielsen and Davy G, in 5th and 6th place, and the top American finisher, Matt Antoine, in 7th.
I need someone to take a picture of me by the sign. You want to go up and see her? Yeah, I can go with him. We'll see him later. Just go. Okay. Is that okay? Why don't we go get one? Yes, please. Okay, let's go get one. I'm going to go up to you. Yeah. I need to get him. At 5? I'm to get it off of first. Who cares? I want dinner. All right, perfect. So that means and then I'm going in the hot tub. Yeah, we can go right away. Yeah. Well, you're going to give us the second fight. Good.
As the day moves along here in Calgary, Canada, we still have plenty of skeleton and bobsled action to come. But the first World Cup standings are a direct representation of today's results. One race down, Martins Dukers leading the way. And a look at all of the competitors that will be battling for that World Cup overall title to be awarded in February. The flower presentation now down at the finish. In 3rd place, Dom Parsons, and I'm again joined by Michelle Kelly. And Michelle, that's a great story, the Great Britain rider over on the right.
It is, and it's so great to see him wearing that white cowboy hat, which is a sign of Calgary. And oh my goodness, he's going to have such a future ahead of him. That's such a great thing. Get some new blood in there. We haven't seen somebody from Great Britain on the podium on the men's side in a while, and that's really nice to see. But I mean, the story of the day has got to be this track record-breaking run. What an amazing accomplishment, even with a few little errors. It's scary to think what if he had a perfectly clean run, what that could have been, and he's super stoked about that run.
Martins Dukers, you call it the story of the day, and if you were going to give that story a name, maybe it's the Hunger Games, because Martins Dukers is very hungry for an Olympic gold medal, the only title that has eluded him.
Dominic Parsons from Great Britain. Never were on this track in your life, and you come out here and you get a bronze medal. Were you a little surprised?
Yeah, I'm just surprised as you are. I
This
don't
is
know how
the
I did
5-minute
that,
warning
but
for
hopefully I'll
the
do it again.
forerunners at the start of
Wow, what a great start for you for the Olympic season to Sochi. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, now, Alexander, silver medal. It's okay?
Yes, все хорошо. Первый кубок, давно не соревновались, все соскучились уже поэтому. Вот, было большое предстартовое волнение, но спасибо тренерскому персоналу, всем персоналу, кто помогал. Спасибо.
Well, he's always taking credit for all of his people that support him, and great race for him in his first World Cup of the year. And Martins, last year we were together. You had won the €100,000 prize in Sochi, and so you'd expect to win every race this year, or you're going to be easy on the competition?
At first, I'm not going to come and compete easy, so that's my target, to compete with full power. And I would like to say thanks for all my team, for all my sponsors, and I'm really happy with the result.
Well, congratulations to you three.
Martin Stukers, Alexander Trechikov, and Dom Parsons, the medalists at the opening World Cup men's race. We are just moments away from the second and final run of the women's race. Stick around, much more to come. Great Britain and USA 1-2 in the standings in the women's competition. We'll be right back to Calgary.